She was the pack's phantom, the wolfless girl living in the shadow of the mountain. Scorned by the very people she was forced to call family. He was a myth, a king, the alpha of all alphas, ruling 1,000 packs from a throne of iron and shadow. Their worlds were never meant to collide. But on a night of thunder and betrayal, the river brought him to her. Bleeding, broken, and trapped in the body of a wolf, she pulled a wounded wolf from the water, never dreaming she was saving the one man whose life held the world in balance. The storm was a primal thing, clawing at the small cabin with jealous fury. For Elena Cross, it was just noise. The real storm was the one that lived inside her chest, a hollow ache where a wolf's heart should have been. Elena was 23 years old and a ghost in her own pack. Born into the Frost Peak pack, she was a cruel twist of fate, a wolfless human. In their world, power was everything. The snap of jaws, the strength of the shift, the rank you held. Elena had none of it. She was less than an omega, a dud, a genetic dead end, a servant by default. Now she lived on the far outskirts of the territory in a tiny moss-covered cabin her great-grandmother, another pack outcast, had built. It suited Alpha Rowan just fine. Out of sight, out of mind. Tonight, the storm's violence had a purpose, masking her movements. The pounding rain and crack of thunder would cover the sound of her slipping through the woods. She needed herbs that only grew near the turbulent Shadowbrook River, and this storm would bring them to the surface. Wrapping a threadbare oilskin cloak around her thin frame, Elena stepped into the chaos. The wind ripped at her, stinging her pale skin. The forest was a thrashing sea of black branches. The Shadowbrook River was a monster. Usually a swift, dark ribbon, it was now a raging brown beast, swollen and angry, chewing at its banks. Trees were ripped from the earth and tossed like twigs. The roar was deafening. That's when she saw it. At first, just a dark mass snagged on fallen branches near the opposite bank. Too big to be a deer. A bear, maybe. She squinted, wiping rain from her eyes. The mass moved. It was a wolf. A massive, impossibly large wolf. Caught, its back leg tangled in debris, the current pulling it under. It was still alive, but barely. Its head lifted in agonizing effort before falling back. Elena's breath hitched. Her pack's rules were absolute. Never interfere with a rogue. They were dangerous, exiled for a reason. And this was no Frost Peak wolf. It was 3 times the size of their largest alpha, its fur the color of a moonless night. She should have turned back. It was the smart thing, the safe thing. But as she watched, the wolf's head went under the rushing water and didn't come back up. "Damn it," she whispered. She didn't think. She just moved. Elena scrambled down the muddy embankment, grabbing a thick branch. She plunged into the freezing water, the shock stealing her breath. The current was a physical blow trying to drag her downstream. She wasn't a wolf. She had no supernatural strength. She was just a girl, and a small one at that. The wolf saw her. Its head broke the surface and it snarled, a deep, rattling sound. Its eyes a startling electric blue even in the gloom fixed on her. They weren't just animal eyes. They were filled with rage, pain, and intelligence. "I'm trying to help you," she screamed over the storm. The wolf snapped at her, jaws closing inches from her face. She flinched but held her ground. "Hold still, you giant fool, or we'll both drown." Its leg was badly twisted, caught in a V of thick branches. Blood poured from a dozen wounds on its flank and shoulders. Gashes that looked like claw marks. This wolf hadn't just fallen in. It had been attacked. Her fingers were numb, but she worked frantically at the branches. Finally, with a desperate heave, she snapped the branch. The wolf was free, but so was the current's full force. The animal was swept away, and in a moment of pure instinct, Elena grabbed a fistful of its fur. She was dragged under, cold water filling her lungs. But then a powerful force propelled them upward, Oh, the wolf, despite its injuries, was using its last strength to kick toward the bank. They hit the mud on her side of the river, a heap of fur, girl, and icy water. Elena coughed, vomiting river water, shaking so hard she thought her bones would crack. The wolf lay beside her, a mountain of black fur, unmoving. "Don't you die on me," she panted, crawling toward it. "Not after I did all that." She put her hand on its ribs. There was a faint, shallow rise and fall. He was alive. She looked at the wolf. She looked at her cabin a quarter-mile up the hill. She looked at her own hands, raw and bleeding. "You're going to be the death of me," she muttered, "but I can't leave you." It took her 2 hours to drag the wolf up the hill. 2 hours of slipping, falling, and sobbing in the mud. The girl who had been called weak her entire life just set her jaw and pulled. Beside the cabin, hidden under overgrown ivy, was her great-grandmother's root cellar. Deep, dry, and most importantly, hidden. No one in the pack knew about it. Getting the wolf down was another nightmare. She managed it by half sliding, half lowering him, nearly breaking her own neck in the process. "All right," Elena whispered as much to herself as to the unconscious beast. "Let's see what you got yourself into." She fetched her healing supplies and worked quickly. This she knew. Healing was her great-grandmother's magic, the only thing she'd ever been good at. The wounds were horrific. Deep parallel claw marks raked his flank. A puncture wound on his shoulder looked like it had been made by a silver-tipped arrow. Silver. That was bad. It poisoned the blood. Stopped the healing. "Who did this to you?" she murmured, trimming fur away from the silver wound. It was festering already, the flesh a sickly purple. She worked for an hour, cleaning wounds, pulling out broken arrowheads, stitching the worst gashes. The silver wound was last. She made a thick paste of crushed willow bark, comfrey, and moon petal, slathering it onto the wound. The wolf twitched, a low growl rumbling in its chest, even unconscious. "Shh," she soothed, her hand automatically stroking his massive head. "It's all right. I'm helping." She covered him with blankets and climbed out of the cellar, dragging her mud-caked body inside her cabin. She collapsed onto her cot and fell into dead sleep. She woke to a sound. A snap, like a large branch breaking. Then it came again from directly below her, a crack followed by a deep, pained groan that didn't sound like any animal. It sounded human. Then came a third sound, the unmistakable, wet, agonizing sound of bones cracking, shifting, reforming. The sound of the shift. Elena's blood turned to ice. She grabbed a cast-iron skillet and crept to the cellar door. A string of curses echoed up from the darkness. "Damned Silver! I'll kill you, bastard!" It was a man's voice, deep, raw, filled with power that vibrated through the floorboards. Her hand trembled. "Hello," she called down. The groaning stopped. Heavy, predatory silence filled the space. "Who's there?" the man's voice demanded. It wasn't a question. It was a command, an alpha command that made every instinct scream at her to submit. "I own this cabin," she said, voice shaking. "You're in my cellar." She lit a candle and started down the steps. "Stay back," he warned. She ignored him. Her feet hit the dirt floor. She held the candle aloft. He was propped against the far wall. The flickering light revealed him, and Elena's breath left her body. He was not just a man. He was the most formidable-looking human she had ever seen. Naked, his body a roadmap of corded muscle and fresh-stitched wounds. Broad shoulders, lean waist, face carved from granite. Dark, wet hair fell into his eyes, the same electric blue eyes she'd seen in the wolf. He was magnificent. He looked at his stitched wounds, then at the green paste on his shoulder. He touched it, then looked at his fingers, then at Elena. "You did this?" he asked, voice a low rumble. Elena nodded, unable to speak. "You pulled me from the river," he stated. "I remember. That was you." "You were a wolf," she whispered. "I didn't know." He tried to stand, his legs buckled, the silver poisoning still in his system. He slumped back against the wall, breathing heavily. "Who are you?" he demanded. "What pack is this?" "This is Frost Peak territory," Elena said, finding her voice. "I'm Elena Cross. I'm no one." The man's blue eyes bored into her. "You are not no one," he said, voice surprisingly soft though still full of iron. "You are the woman who saved my life." He pushed himself up, managing to get to one knee. "My name is Darius." He paused as if expecting the name to mean something. Elena just stared. He sighed, a faint smile touching his lips. "Just Darius, then. For now. Elena Cross of Frost Peak. I am in your debt." "You need to be quiet," Elena said, panic returning. "If my pack finds you, a strange werewolf, they'll kill you. And they'll kill me for helping you." Darius's expression darkened. "Your pack, from the scent on you, the lack of a wolf, they do not treat you well." Elena flinched. "It doesn't matter. You're in danger. We're in danger. You have to stay hidden." "I do not hide," he growled. "You will if you want to live," she snapped. "You're half poisoned by silver and your whole body is stitched together. You're in no condition to fight." The blue eyes widened, just a fraction. No one spoke to him that way. But then the faint smile returned. "Very well, Elena Cross. I will hide, for now." He gestured to his naked body. "But do you think you could find me some clothes?" The only men's clothes she had were her father's old trousers and tunic. She dropped them down into the cellar, her cheeks burning. "They'll be small," she called down. When he emerged, the daylight revealed what the candle had only hinted at. The trousers ended mid-calf. The tunic strained against the muscles of his chest and shoulders. But it was the man himself. He filled her small cabin, his presence sucking all the air out. "You live like this?" he asked. Not judgment, just observation. "I live," Elena retorted. "Which is more than you'd be doing if I hadn't found you. Sit down. You look like you're about to fall over." He sat heavily on her rickety chair, which groaned in protest. "The silver," he said, touching the paste on his shoulder. "It's still burning." "It will for a while," Elena said, grinding herbs. "Silver poisoning is deep. My paste will draw it out, but it takes time. You need to drink this." She handed him a steaming mug. He sniffed it, nose wrinkling. "What is it?" "Yarrow and milk thistle. It will cleanse your blood. Drink it." He raised an eyebrow at her commanding tone, but obeyed, draining the mug in one swallow, eyes never leaving her. "You're a healer," he stated. "I know herbs," she corrected. "My great-grandmother taught me. The pack doesn't value that." They sat in silence. Then Elena finally asked, "Who are you, Darius? Who tried to kill you?" His face hardened, warmth vanishing, replaced by cold fury. "I was ambushed," he said, voice dropping to a growl. "Betrayed by Alpha Garrett of the Crimson Ridge Pack. He called for a treaty parley at the Three Falls. I went with only 2 guards. It was a trap. They tore my guards apart, Matthias and Kale." A flicker of profound pain crossed his face. "They hit me with silver arrows. I shifted. I fought back, but I was outnumbered and poisoned. I ran until the river took me." "So you're a rogue?" Elena whispered. "At war with an entire pack." "I am not a rogue," he said, voice suddenly full of authority that made the air shimmer. "My pack is the Iron Claw, and they are looking for me." Elena's blood ran cold. The Iron Claw wasn't a pack. It was a legend. The royal pack to which all other packs owed fealty. Her eyes dropped to his left arm, where the tunic sleeve was pushed up. A tattoo, dark, intricate, covering his bicep. A snarling wolf's head crowned with a ring of stylized sunfire. The sigil of the royal house of Thorn. "Oh gods," she breathed, taking a step back. "You're not just Darius." He stood, no longer a wounded rogue, a king. "I am Darius Kale Thorn," he said, voice resonating with power. "Alpha of the Iron Claw and King of the Northern Protectorate." Elena's legs gave out. She sank onto her cot, head spinning. She hadn't just saved a werewolf. She'd pulled the Alpha King from the river. The single most powerful and now most hunted man on the continent was standing in her tiny cabin, wearing her dead father's too small pants. "This is bad," she stammered. "This is so, so bad." "Garrett has committed high treason," Darius continued, pacing. "He tried to murder the king. This is an act of war. He must have an ally, someone on the council." He slammed his fist into the wall. The entire cabin shook. Plaster dust rained from the ceiling. "Stop it!" Elena shrieked, jumping up. "You'll bring the whole house down. I don't care if you're the king of the universe. You are still in my house, and you are still hiding." Darius stopped, breathing hard. He looked at his fist, then at the crack in her wall, then at her. She was terrified, but standing her ground. A slow, dangerous smile spread across his face. "You are," he said, voice full of wonder. "The first person to yell at me in a decade." "Well, get used to it if you keep breaking my things," Elena said. "Now, Your Majesty, sit down. You're bleeding again." He sat, arrogance deflating slightly, and held out his arm. As she re-stitched the wound, their proximity was intense. She could feel the heat radiating from his skin, smell his scent, pine, ozone, and clean iron. "My pack thinks I'm dead," he said quietly. "Garrett will move fast. Try to seize the capital. There are old laws. A king who cannot be found for 7 days is presumed dead. It's been 3 days. I have 4 days to get back to Ironhold and expose him." "Ironhold is 500 miles from here," Elena said. "I know," he said, jaw tight. "And I can't do it like this." He looked at his shaking hands. "The silver. It's grounding me. I can't even force a partial shift." "You need to heal," Elena said, "and for that, you need to stay hidden." As if summoned by the words, sharp, heavy pounding echoed through the cabin. Bang, bang, bang! "Elena! Open this door, you useless mutt!" a voice roared from outside. Elena went white. She looked at the door, then at the Alpha King. It was Derek Stone, the Alpha's son. Darius was on his feet instantly, pain and weakness forgotten. "Who is that?" he growled. "Derek," Elena whispered, "the Alpha's son. Hide, hide now." "I do not—" "You said you would," she hissed, pushing him. "The cellar. Now, Darius, please." The urgency in her voice finally broke through his pride. He gave her one last hard look and slipped back into the cellar. Bang, bang, bang. "I know you're in there, Cross. Get out here, or I'm kicking this door down." Elena took a shaky breath, smoothing her hair. She unbarred the door and opened it, just a crack. "Derek, what do you want?" Derek Stone shoved the door open, sending Anna stumbling back. He sauntered in, muddy boots tracking filth across her clean floor. He was flanked by 2 lackeys, both dim-witted and cruel. "That's not how you greet your future, Alpha," Derek sneered. "Gods, it smells like weeds in here." "I was cleaning," Elena said flatly, keeping her body between them and the cellar door. "What do you want?" "I was bored," he laughed, stepping closer. Too close. She could smell stale beer on his breath. "Thought I'd check on our least valuable asset." He grabbed a lock of her hair, twisting it. "You're looking peaky, Elena." "Let go of me." "Ooh, feisty." He twisted harder, making her wince. "You know, I found something interesting down by the river. Lots of blood. A strange scent. Looked like someone dragged something heavy up the hill, right toward your cabin." Elena's heart was a drum. "I don't know what you're talking about." "A bear? You drag a bear?" Derek laughed. He stepped closer, backing her against the wall. "What is it, Elena? You got a visitor? A rogue boyfriend you're hiding? Get out of my house." "Or what?" Derek snarled. He slammed his hand against the wall next to her head. "You'll what? You're nothing, Elena. You're a wolfless stain on this pack." He leaned in, at face inches from hers. "Now I'm going to search this dump, and if I find you're hiding something—" From beneath the floorboards, a low, guttural growl vibrated through the cabin. So deep it sounded like an earthquake. Derek froze. What was that? It's just the house settling, Elena lied, palms sweating. Open the cellar, Derek demanded. No, nothing's down there. Just old things. Derek's patience snapped. I said, open it. He shoved her aside. Elena fell, hitting her head on the corner of the table. She cried out. The cabin exploded. The cellar door was ripped from its hinges, wood splintering as it flew across the room and embedded in the wall. Darius erupted from the darkness. He was not the weak, poisoned man from moments before. This was the Alpha King. His blue eyes blazed with silver fire. His fangs were partially extended. His face was a mask of pure, unadulterated rage. Derek's lackeys screamed. This was a predator. Derek stood his ground, though his face had gone sickly white. Who in the hell are you? Darius didn't answer. He was a black blur. He grabbed Derek by the throat and slammed him against the wall, lifting him 2 feet off the ground. You touch her again, Darius snarled, voice a promise of death, and I will tear your throat out with my teeth. Darius, no, Elena scrambled up. Don't. If you kill him, his father, the whole pack. Darius's eyes were locked on Derek, who was clawing at the hand crushing his windpipe. He's not worth it, Elena pleaded, grabbing Darius's arm. The muscle was like steel. Please. Her words, her touch broke through the red haze. Darius looked from Derek's terrified face to Elena's pleading one. With a final growl of disgust, he threw Derek across the room. The Alpha's son crashed into his lackeys. Get out, Darius commanded, his Alpha voice washing over them. The 3 wolves scrambled to their feet, terror replacing all bravado. They fell over each other trying to get out the door. My father will hear about this, Derek shrieked as he ran. You're dead, both of you. They vanished into the woods. Silence descended, broken only by Darius's heavy breathing. He turned to Elena, rage gone, replaced by burning intensity. He stalked toward her. Elena backed away until she hit the wall. What have you done? I protected you, he said, voice raw. You've doomed us. They'll be back with the whole pack. Let them come. He was close now. So close. He placed his hands on the wall on either side of her head, trapping her. His blue eyes burned into hers. He hurt you. I'm used to it. You will never be used to it again, he vowed. Do you understand me, Elena Cross? No one will ever lay a hand on you in cruelty again. He was too close. She could feel the heat of his body, smell the iron and pine. Why? She whispered. Why do you care? I'm just a human. His eyes softened. He reached up, calloused fingers gently touching the bruise forming on her temple. She flinched, but his touch was impossibly gentle. I told you, he murmured. You are the strongest person I've ever met. Then he leaned in, but it wasn't a kiss. Not yet. He buried his face in the crook of her neck, his body trembling. He inhaled deeply, breath hot against her skin. Mine, he whispered, half growl, half groan. Elena's world tilted. It wasn't a threat. It wasn't ownership. It was a primal recognition that shook her to her soul. The Alpha King had just claimed her, and outside the howls of the Frost Peak pack were beginning to rise. The howls grew closer. Derek was rallying his father's enforcers. They're coming, Elena said numbly. Darius stepped back, mind already shifting to tactics. How many? Alpha Rowan keeps maybe 30 enforcers. 30 against 1 poisoned Alpha. Darius smiled grimly. Almost fair. This isn't funny. They'll tear us apart. They will not, Darius said. They're coming for a rogue. They will find a king. Over the next tense hours, Darius explained his plan. He needed to send a message to his beta, Seraphina, at Ironhold. Not on paper, through a beacon bound to his blood. I need King's Folly mushroom, he said. It grows on rotted oaks. There's an old oak grove 2 miles north, in the swamp. No, you can't. It's too dangerous. They're at the river, Elena countered. That's south. The swamp is north. I'll be fast. She slipped out before he could stop her. Darius was left alone, pacing the small cabin. The scent of her, herbs and rain and sweetness, filled his lungs. That word, mine, hadn't been a mistake. When he'd grabbed her, when he'd seen the fear in her eyes, it had been a click. A sudden, violent recognition. The goddess had bound his soul to this one. A wolfless human, an outcast. It was the ultimate cosmic joke and the ultimate gift. He stopped pacing, revelation hitting him. His beta, Nathaniel? The betrayal had been deeper than the ambush. Nathaniel had advised him to take only 2 guards. He'd fought for the neutrality of Frost Peak territory. Nathaniel had sold him to Garrett. And Alpha Rowan had been the gatekeeper. If Rowan was in on it, he wouldn't be investigating a rogue. He'd be coming to finish the job, and Elena was out there alone. He smashed his fist into the wall. Elena, hurry! Elena moved like a shadow, slipping past patrols to snatch the mushrooms from the swamp. She returned just as the howls grew closer. They're not searching anymore, she panted. They're hunting. Darius's face was grim. He took the herbs, slashed his palm, and dripped his royal blood onto the fungus, binding it with an iron nail. The beacon was ready, but there was no time. Darius's head snapped up. Rowan, and he's not alone. I smell Crimson Ridge, and Garrett is with him. Elena's blood ran cold. Garrett? Here? They're not here to investigate, Darius growled, moving between her and the door. They're here to finish the job, to kill me and you as the witness. Heavy boots and snarling wolves surrounded the cabin. The cellar, Elena whispered in terror. No, Darius said, voice pure steel. No more hiding. He turned, eyes blazing with desperate intensity. They are here to harm you, and I will raze this forest to the ground before I let them touch you. Why? She breathed. Because the goddess chose you, he said, the words a vow. You are my mate. Before Elena could process the word, the cabin door exploded inward. Alpha Rowan, Alpha Garrett, and a vengeful Derek Stone stood there, backed by a dozen brutal enforcers. The standoff had begun, but the fight was short. A peregrine falcon burst through the window, landing on Darius's shoulder. The beacon had worked faster than expected. Through the doorway behind the Alphas came royal guards, dozens of them, led by a fierce woman with silver-streaked hair. Your Majesty, Seraphina said, bowing. Your beacon was received. We came with all speed. The battle was over before it began. Alpha Garrett was on his knees, a prisoner. Alpha Rowan was a broken man, weeping over Derek's body. The fool had attacked and been cut down by the royal guard. He was my son, Rowan wailed. He put his hands on my mate. Darius's voice was ice. His death was a mercy. He turned to Garrett. Nathaniel will finish this. Seraphina stepped forward, wiping her blade. The falcon found me, Your Majesty. Nathaniel's conspiracy failed. He was arrested in the capital an hour ago. Color drained from Garrett's face. You are guilty of high treason, Darius said. My justice is swift. Seraphina moved, and Garrett's treachery ended with silent finality. Darius then faced Rowan. You allowed this ambush on your land. You are a disgrace. He delivered sentence. You are exiled, stripped of your rank, your name, and your wolf. You will live as a human outcast, just as you forced her to live. As guards dragged the screaming Rowan away, Darius's iron control finally broke. The silver poisoning and wounds surged back and he staggered, collapsing. Seraphina caught him. My king! Darius's gaze found Elena. He grabbed his beta's arm. She is my mate. My Luna. Then the Alpha King fell into darkness. Darius woke 3 days later in a royal campaign tent, clean and bandaged, the silver's fire gone. Elena was there, grinding herbs. The fear that had lived in her eyes was gone, replaced by steady strength. You've been unconscious for 3 days, she said, offering water. Your beta is efficient. She's taken control of Frost Peak. She also thinks you're insane. Seraphina entered, face a mask of stone. Your Majesty, we must discuss the issue. There is no issue, Darius said, sitting up. She is my Luna. She is wolfless, Seraphina burst out. A human. She cannot lead a hunt. She cannot bear a true heir. She cannot— She held me, Darius interrupted, voice resonating with quiet fury. When my own pack failed, she pulled me from the river. When you were all searching, she healed me. She faced down 2 alphas with nothing but her courage. He faced his beta. We valued only the strength of the Fang, and for that, I was betrayed. We forgot the strength of compassion. Anna has a spine of iron. She is my Luna, and she will be your queen. Seraphina stared at Elena, truly seeing the woman who had not flinched. The proud warrior slowly knelt. My queen. The rest of the council followed. Darius took Elena's hand. They will test you. Elena looked at the kneeling warriors, the ghost of the cabin finally gone. Let them, she said, voice clear. I'm not afraid of wolves. And so the wolfless girl became the queen of all wolves. Elena's story is a reminder that the greatest strength doesn't always come from the sharpest claws or the loudest howl. Sometimes true power lies in the quiet courage to show compassion in a world that has shown you none. It's the strength to heal, to stand up, and to love even when you are underestimated. What did you think of Elena and Darius's story? Was it the moment she pulled him from the river, or when he stood up to defend her? Let me know in the comments below. If you loved this journey of drama, justice, and unexpected love, please hit that like button. Subscribe and ring that notification bell. We have so many more stories to tell.